What's up, everybody? I had to get outside. I was tired of being in the house. It's a beautiful day, so I figured I would come out here, teach a little class outside. It is kind of hot. The sun is blazing right there, but it's still good to be outside. So anyhow, what we're doing today, we still got some polynomial stuff to work on. We're multiplying special cases, all right? So you can always use FOIL, just like we've done in the past, but I want you to learn these shortcuts because it's going to make these things automatic, just like my jumper. Alright, so the first one is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so perfect square trinomial, it's named because of what the answer is going to be. Okay, but you have to know what it looks like. Okay, so it is a perfect square. Okay, so what's happening is they're taking this binomial x minus 17 and we're squaring it. Okay, if you want, like I said, it's the same thing as just x minus 17 times x minus 17, and you can just write it out the long way, do FOIL, whatever. Okay, it's going to take you forever that way. Alright, so shortcut, okay, is you're just going to take the first term and square it. Okay, so just square the first term. The first term is x, so I just square it and I get x squared. Okay, then second step, multiply the two terms together. So negative 17 times x is just negative 17x. And then I'm going to double it. Well, what does double mean? Times 2. Okay, so negative 17x times 2 is negative 34x. Okay, and then the last step is just to square the last term. So a negative times a negative is positive. 17 squared is 289. One of the other reasons I thought it was really important for you guys to learn those squares. Okay, this time of the year it really helps us out. Alright, the next rule, okay, is the difference of squares. Okay, once again, it's named by what the answer is, not by what the question is. So you have to recognize it when you see it. So you're going to have the exact same thing in each binomial, except one is going to have a plus and one is going to have a minus. So x plus 19 times x minus 19. They're exactly the same. One's got a plus, one's got a minus. Okay, and the rules are super simple. All you have to do is square the first term, x squared. Okay, remember, difference of squares. So it's always going to be a minus in the middle, okay, because it is a difference. Okay, and then you got to square the last term, the 19. So 19 squared is 361. So I have x squared minus 361. It is a difference of two perfect squares. Okay, so it's really simple. Okay, hopefully nobody will throw up a brick on these. Because I think you can all do this. Alright? Alright, I'm going to show you real fast just how quickly you can do these if you know your rules and you know your squares. Okay, if you don't know your squares, it's going to take a little while. If you get attacked by a wasp, it's going to take a little while, so be careful. Alright, so perfect square trinomials. Okay, I've got a binomial, it's in parentheses, and I've got it squared. So I know that's going to be a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so square the first term, x squared. Multiply the two terms, 3 times x, and double it. Don't forget to double it. So 3 times x is 3x. I double it and I get 6x. And then I square the 3. Okay, plus 9. My neighbor's hard at work over there doing yard work, and here I am teaching some algebra, but that's good. Okay, everybody's got to do their own thing. Alright, so x minus 9 squared. Alright, so square the first term, x squared. Negative 9 times x is negative 9x. I double it. That gets me negative 18x, okay, because I've got a minus sign right there. So when I times 2, that means this is still negative. It's still a minus. Okay, and then when I square it, 9 squared, that is 81. A negative times a negative is still positive. So when I have these perfect square trinomials, that last number is still always going to be positive. Okay, now I have 2x plus 3. Okay, this is the first time we've had something in the front here. So I still work it the same way. I'm going to square the first term. Well, 2x squared, I've got to square the 2 and I've got to square the x. So that is 4x squared. it makes this part a little more complicated too. So now I'm doing 3 times 2x, or 2x times 3. So 3 times 2x is 6x. And then I double that. So 6x times 2 is 12x. Alright? And then the last step, I still just square the last number, which is 3 squared, which is 9. Alright? Now they put some extra letters in there, some extra exponents in there to make it a little more confusing. So x squared squared, okay, that goes back to our exponent rules. We just get x to the 4th. Now, x squared times negative y squared is just negative x squared y squared. Double it. What does double mean? Times 2. So all I have to do is write a 2 in the front. So this is negative 2 times x squared y squared. Okay, you think it's complicated, but really, whenever there's not anything we can actually like calculate, it makes it simpler because all you're doing is just writing it down. Okay, and then same thing at the end. The y squared, when we square it, is just going to be positive y to the 4th. All right, and then same thing down here. Just one more example. Okay, 5x squared is 25x squared. And negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, so this is negative 10x. I double it, makes negative 20x, and then I take negative 2 and I square it, and I get 4. Alright? Now, these difference of squares, okay? Remember, you have to look at it and recognize that it is a difference of squares. Okay, it's easy on today's paper because it's either going to look like this, where it's got the little square thing, or it's going to be this, and that's obviously a difference of squares. Okay, sometimes it's not quite so simple because you got a bunch of FOIL and a bunch of other stuff all mixed in there. But today it should be pretty simple. Alright, so x plus 8, x minus 8. All you really have to do is look at the first term and square it. Look at the second term and square it. And then stick a minus in the middle. It is a difference of 2 perfect squares. Okay, a difference of 2 perfect squares. So, once again, as long as we know our squares like we've been studying, then this is going to go really fast for us. Okay, so x squared, or x times x is x squared, and then 24 squared is 576. Alright, it gets a little bit more complicated if they put a letter or put a number in front, like the coefficient in front of that x is a 2, but it's not really that tricky. So 2x, I'm still just squaring it, that is 4x squared. And then I've got to square the 1, so minus 1. Okay, anytime you see a 1, you're like, yeah, because 1s are simple. Alright, same thing here. Okay, and then the other thing on this one is, on these difference of squares, I wanted to point out that it doesn't matter if the first one's minus and the second one's plus, or if the first one's plus and the second one's minus, that part doesn't matter. Okay, as long as they're both exactly the same except for the operation, we're good to go, difference of squares. So, 3x plus 4y times 3x minus 4y. Well, 3x squared is going to be 9x squared. And then I put my minus in the middle. And 4y squared is going to be 16y squared. Alright, so as long as you've been paying attention, as long as you've been studying, if you know your squares, today's lesson is going to be a slam dunk. You're going to do awesome.